I call it a ruby, my dear, but I might as well call it sending you home crying to your mama. Yes.
Howdy folks, Indestructicon here with another Wonderlands build video. This time we will be looking at my Ruby My Dear Graveborn Spellshot build, and it's a pretty fun little gunslinger build here. So let's just get right into it. We're going to start with the skill tree first because it's pretty cut and dry. So this, like I said, this is a Graveborn Spellshot. We will be using Reaper of Bones for our ability, and this is pretty crucial to the build, so keep that in mind. So we have 5 points in Essence Drain, we have 5 points in Dark Pact, 5 points in Stain of the Soul, and 3 points in Ascension. Now, Ascension increases your spell damage, and all increases to our spell damage is going to translate into gun damage. So in our Spellshot tree, we have 6 points. Well, we have 3 points in magic bullets, and we're getting 3 points from our armor, which we'll get into gear. 3 points in prestidigitation, 5 points in just warming up, 1 point in mage armor. We're not using the curse wit, so you can go ahead and take this point. We have 5 points in fount of mana. We have 1 point in glass cannon, 1 point in high thread count. We have 5 points in imbued weapon. We have 1 little point here and 1 slot 1 kill, and we got 1 point in sever the thread, just to help us pop off our Buffmeister a little quicker. So with that being said, that's pretty straightforward. We're not doing anything super crazy with the tree here, but let's get into gear now. That's where it gets a little more tricky. So the crux of this build here, well, not the crux, but a big part of it, we have a lot of little things working together here. So first let's look at our armor. Now, we are using an Amnesia, and I was lucky enough to find one with 3 points into magic bullets. 2 will work. You want to try to find a couple of points into magic bullets, and you want to find one of these with movement speed on it. Now here's the kicker. So this Amnesia reads, after taking non-status effect damage, apply a fire status effect to the Fate Maker, increase movement speed, and leave a fire trail for 3 seconds. While this effect is active, damage dealt is increased by movement speed. Okay, now this is a pretty cool piece of armor, but it's really hard to keep that up. Now, I explained in a little short video this interaction I personally discovered. I'm sure other people have discovered it too, but I found it out by accident, and it kind of led to this build. So, how Reaper of Bones work is the Fate Maker is fully healed, gains increased leech efficiency, and deals bonus dark magic damage, but her health takes an ever-increasing amount of damage per second. So, and when the Fate Maker would die, she instead becomes invulnerable for a short duration, and blah, blah, blah. The important part about this is her health takes an ever-increasing amount of damage, and this damage counts as non-status effect damage. So when you have your Reaper of Bones going, you're going to constantly have the effects from Amnesia. And that's how we're stacking a good amount of damage there. I have a little demo video here that should be playing to show how long you can actually keep this going. So we want to stack a lot of things that do action skill active. I don't have everything rolled up yet, but basically, while that action skill is active, and as you can see here, you're constantly healing quite a bit, and every time you deal that, you can keep Amnesia and Reaper of Bones. Am I saying the right one here? Yeah. And you can keep Reaper of Bones going quite a bit. So it's a really cool little way to stack damage here. So that being said, and I think you get the idea from that video there, let's look at some of our other gear here. Nothing else is too crazy. So speaking of Reaper of Bones going, what you want to roll on your weapons is, while action skill is active, increase dark magic damage by 50%. Now I don't have that on everything, and as you can tell by the title of this video, our main weapon is going to be the Ruby Spite. I didn't understand how this gun worked, and then when I figured it out, I was like, this is crazy awesome. So once you kill an enemy, the fire rate increases and it starts homing in on things, and as you saw from the intro, that can be really powerful. But with this build, you don't have to just use this gun. I really like the Sword Explosion with this build. Some of the other ones I like here are the Wizard's Pipe, the Gluttony, and the Shadow Fire are all really fun to play with. And please let me know if you find another weapon that works really good with this setup. For our melee weapon here, we are using a Mage Staff, just because I like some of the status effect chance and damage stuff on it. But while I was kind of going over this build and everything, I also thought that the Goblin Pickaxe might be something you might want to look at. It's got a lot of good stuff on it that could really help with this. And if you don't know the pickaxe, melee attacks spawn gold. Whenever the Fate Maker picks up gold, it increases movement speed, spell cooldown rate, action skill cooldown rate, and all that. So every video I took was using the Mage Staff. So I have not played with this yet, but I just wanted to show it here and see if you guys want to experiment with this. This might actually be the way to go. So we got weapons covered. Now let's look at another few important parts of the build here. The Buffmeister. This is also pretty crucial to this build. We're using a volatile dark magic Buffmeister with Zap and Pew on it. Those are going to increase spell and gun damage. And the enchantment on this is also really important. This is going to just stack everything up even further. So we have Enchanted Spellshot. After casting a spell, increase gun damage by 20% and fire rate by 30% for a short duration. So we want to try to keep this up as much as possible. That's also why we took Essence Drain, and we took Fount of Mana, so we can be popping off these skills as much as possible. For our necklace, we have a Universal Soldier of Heroism. Again, the melee damage on this has a chance to reload your guns. We're not concerned about that. I just got a good gun damage and spell shot power roll on it, and 26 all damage dealt. So really, you just want to look for gun damage or spell damage on your necklaces and rings, because both will increase your overall damage. Let's see here. For the shield, we are going with a body rune. Now, I don't quite have this rolled quite the way I want, but again, while action skill is active, increase elemental damage by 35%. Your action skill is going to be up a long time. So I would suggest looking for enchantments that deal with while action skill is active, because it'll be up pretty much a whole round. For our rings here, I was lucky enough to find a Shark's Bane with a high gun damage on it. And the other ring is just another gun damage ring with some dark magic efficiency. So you really just want to look for high levels of gun damage or spell damage on your rings. Now, I'm going to go back to skills here for a second because I always forget the hero stats. So I don't know how important these are, but I know I always forget them. So I believe I took Raised by Elves. Yeah, the archetype Nimble. And I maxed out Dexterity. I maxed out Wisdom. And let's see here. I don't remember exactly, but it appears I dumped the rest of the points into Strength. So if you guys have a better setup for this, I'd love to hear it. That wasn't sarcastic. I genuinely do like to hear from you guys when you have ways to improve builds, and I just think it makes the community stronger as a whole. So yeah, we maxed out our dex, maxed out our wisdom, and I believe I dumped the rest of the points into strength. And I think that's about it. I always forget something. I hope I didn't. We went over the tree, which is pretty basic. Our biggest interactions, again, are going to be your Amnesia, working with your Reaper of Bones here. And we're going to be using a very important Buffmeister, which is just going to tie everything together really nicely and give you even more gun damage and fire rate. The body rune, you could go with a Cursed Wit if you want, but it's a little unpredictable and it's hard to recharge once you change areas. And this is constant and it's a good amount of damage and it seems to synergize with this build really well. And that's all I got, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this build. I hope you guys enjoy it. And as always, please let me know if there's any ways I can improve it, if I've missed anything, if I've overlooked anything, which I'm sure I have. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.